We were taking a look at Jacob Soberoff's reporting from McAllen, Texas, where the largest detention facility is for undocumented immigrants. And we told you he got some video on the inside. So he's got a little bit more. He says there were only 4 contracted social workers to deal with separated kids and others who needed it in a processing center. There are 525 family members in here today. 4 social workers, 197 unaccompanied minors. 4 social workers. John Lopez, the acting deputy patrol agent in charge, says they're stretched thin. Is that like some kind of mind F they're doing to everybody? They're having Hispanics F over other Hispanics. So every person here he's quoted who's in control down there in charge has been a Hispanic.
Well, I mean, in terms of the border, the predominant background is people of Latin origin. So
yeah, but ICE isn't mostly Latin people.
But that's all over the country. We're talking about the border. These are border,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not excusing it, but it's.
But I'm saying that the people who work for ICE, they don't just work for ICE because of where they happen to live, right? If you need border patrol, you don't just go hire people who live along the border.
Right, but ICE is in raiding people in Oakland, California.
Yeah.
They're all over the country. I don't know the hiring practices, but
right.
I'm guessing that when you apply, if you have a Latin last name, then it
helps you.
It maybe is a little help.
Definitely. Yeah. So the facility is so slammed, some migrants are being processed to the point that they get separated virtually, meaning they sit in front of a computer and they talk with agents in El Paso, El Centro, or Corpus Christi to hear their fate. The 10 permanent processing agents aren't enough. Wow. On the single adult side, it was noisy. Detainees hollered at us as we walked through, flashing thumbs up. One shouted he was cold. Some joked about food. On the family side, much quieter, eerily. Moms with kids in one cell, dads and kids in another. And one, just kids alone. The Washington Post gave Senator Jeff Merkley 3 Pinocchios for saying that there are kids in cages at Border Patrol's facility in McAllen. Jacob Soberoff says, not sure why. I saw myself. There are kids, families, and adults in cages, cells, kennels, whatever you call them. There's no question. And there's the article right below from the Washington Post. Analysis, does the US keep immigrant children in cages? And they gave him 3 Pinocchios for saying that. Why? Because the Washington Post is often horrible and often parrots is a stenographer to power. They certainly are when it comes to killing foreigners. Why would they change now? These are foreigners, right? So again, the Washington Post, just whenever you read anything from the Washington Post, you have to be skeptical. They often do good work. They often do horrible work like that.
By the way, Jimmy, I read the article. I went to read the fact-checking article.
One?
Yeah, and they have they said that when they gave him the 3 Pinocchios initially, they didn't have enough information.
They didn't have enough.
They didn't have enough information.
So why are they throwing around Pinocchios?
So now that they have additional information, they've downgraded two Pinocchios.
2 Pinocchios.
But it's like, wait. So it turns out he was telling the truth. So we took 1 Pinocchio away, but we're still getting. I mean, so does 2 Pinocchios mean true? I don't know. I mean, I don't understand.
So what the problem with these fact-checking organizations like factcheck.org or PolitiFact or Washington Post, when we're going to give you a Pinocchio, they're often wrong. They often need a fact checker themselves. That's not infrequent. This is a perfect example of them. What would you call that? I don't know. So you read that article.
Yeah.
The Washington Post, do you think they are making a mistake or you think they're just blatantly lying?
I think they have their thumb on the scale for the administration, whoever's in power, the powerful in general. So they give them the benefit of the doubt. And when Jeff Merkley is going to question the official line, then that's going to be treated with more skepticism than they would treat something else. That's my guess.
What did they say he was lying about? I mean, you read the article. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, it's unclear.
It's unclear what he's lying about.
So he made a series of statements. One was about the kids being kept in cages, and there were other statements he was talking about in general. I don't remember the specifics. I think they were criticizing him for something else he said. But the article, as is the headline, just focuses on him saying they were kept in cages. It's like it was about like whether so they didn't have cameras in there, and he said, well, there are cages, they're chain link fence with nets along the top, so that nobody could climb out. And they said, well, we haven't seen inside, we don't know. Maybe there are nets on top, maybe there aren't, so we're gonna give you 3 Pinocchios. And then they said, oh, it turns out, yeah, there are nets on top, we're downgrading it to 2 Pinocchios.
So what people see, of course, normally is the headline.
Yeah, you just see the headline.
So it says Jeff Merkley, U.S. keep immigrant children in cages, and then they'll see two Pinocchios. And they won't know, oh, those two Pinocchios are about something else. So they're not going to know that.
Right.
So that's Washington Post.
And even the two Pinocchios, I don't remember the details of what it was, but even those were...
So the Washington Post, again, misinforming their readers, not informed. Could there be anything more egregious than on a fact check? On a fact check, they get the fact check wrong. They mislead the people on a fact check. That's the Washington Post. And now you know why we have a show. That's why we're here. Okay, so back to Jacob Soboroff. He says, we were told we are going to get to hand out images of our visit inside since we couldn't bring cameras in, but we are still waiting on that, hoping to get them in time for the NBC Nightly News. He says, got him. The first photo sent zero tolerance was announced inside the largest Border Patrol processing station in the United States, McAllen's Ursula. This is where we toured today. They say it's where more kids are separated from their parents than anywhere else in the U.S. And you can see that picture. You see the cages. You see it's a cage, like a prison or like a big kennel. You see them laying on the floor. There aren't cots. They're on the floor, and they have those Mylar things over them, which makes it look like a futuristic, Orwellian, dystopian future, like existence, right? So he has video from inside our tour of the Border Patrol's processing. So this is video that's been made available by the Border Patrol. This isn't his video because they weren't allowed to take videos or pictures. That doesn't seem very.
This is the best. This is like we're gonna put we're gonna show America how great we treat these people by providing them with this footage.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
their pro propaganda.
Yeah.
This is as good as it gets for the government.
This is like if you wanted to show off how your airport looks, instead of people waiting in long lines, you show them the club, the airline club room. This is the nicest they could come up with to show us how kindly they're treating these people.
So so keep this in mind. This is what you're saying, Malcolm, is this is the nicest face that the government can put on how they're holding these people. This is the nicest face. What do you call a cage inside of a building? You call it a cage.
I mean, that's what a batting cage looks like without the machine to pitch balls.
So there's already walls to a building. You don't need to put a cage inside unless you want to cage people, like a prison or like a kennel. If you enjoyed this clip of Aggressive Progressives, you know there's a 90-minute show waiting for you at the Young Turks Network. Go to tytnetwork.com/join to see all our content.